Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the newest class of women who are joining the next Congress. A little bit of a surprising story this cycle, right, Dana?
It is, and this is one of those things that I've been dying to talk to you about, Abby, not just off camera and in our offices or on text, but in a public way. The number of Republican women elected, particularly in the House, has gone up pretty dramatically. Now there are at least going to be 35 women in the House, and there could be more because there are some races that are unresolved. And, Abby, that's still a lot less than Democrats. Democrats have about 106. So there's still a Republican deficit, but they're climbing.
It's not just Democrat women that have a monopoly on breaking glass ceilings. Republican women have been doing it all their lives. And to see us double the number of Republican women in the House this year is pretty phenomenal.
I think what's been really interesting is seeing that something a little bit counterintuitive may have been happening in this cycle, in which they were able to recruit some different candidates, women, minorities, Hispanic candidates, Black candidates, Asian American candidates.
Y quiero que sepa que en el momento en que llegue al Capitolio norteamericano voy a estar ahí para ustedes.
This is all part of the new Republican class, and this is a new Republican class that is bigger than anybody, frankly, even the Republicans thought it would be going into election night.
Perhaps it's possible that those candidates were able to actually outperform the environment because they themselves were a story that did not fit into the narrative that had been hurting President Trump, which was his hostility to issues as it relates to people of color, and also his temperament.
We're used to seeing diversity in the Democratic Party, and now we're starting to see it more in the Republican Party, which every Republican I talk to, I'm sure you too, Abby, says that's the only way they're going to survive. I mean, The white vote is shrinking, and there's only so long that Republicans can sustain themselves on any level with just support from white people.
The women of the suburbs, they love me, I think, but the fake news says they don't, but I think they do.
Can Trumpism survive President Trump? And is Trumpism something that can work for Republicans if the candidates are perhaps a little less polarizing?
Hello, my fellow Hoosiers. Thank you so much for putting trust in me to represent you.
Whoever you voted for in this election, I hope you know that regardless of any difference we may have, I will always work on your behalf.
The Trump era is like looking at these photos, for example, the president's cabinet, and just seeing largely a sea of white men, or looking at the photos of the interns at the White House, and you see a sea of white men and women, and similar things in Congress.
Representation matters, and in this case, when I talk about representation, it's people at home and in the communities and districts that these members will represent. The question is whether or not they share the values